Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. We're so grateful that you have taken the time to either take part of this webinar live or when you get to watch it a little bit later. And I'm so excited for our time together to have Dr. Dave Martin with us. Leadership Insight really is our desire as a Bible college to bring to you opportunities to learn, to glean from some of our generation's greatest leaders, but also for you to have access. So don't miss this opportunity if you're watching live to send some questions in, and you have an opportunity today to learn from one of America's really more influential leaders, coaches, and pastors. And so I want to welcome you, Dr. Dave, to our webinar. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you doing? So good to be with you guys.
I'm doing good. You know, out here in Charleston, we don't have much protesting going on. There aren't a lot of truckers around, but no bridges being stopped there. Are you feeling any effects of that today?
No, I'm doing good today. Everything seems to be good here. You know, we're right on the border of Canada, but everything's good. Just a little cold, and I had to scrape the windows this morning. But other than that, you know, for a Florida boy, that's a tough thing. But
you're adjusting.
I know.
Yeah. Well, appreciate your time here today. And if there are some folks watching that aren't familiar with you or your family, share with them how God has blessed you with the Martin family.
Yeah. Well, I'm married. I've been happily married now for 18 years. And we just celebrated, well, we'll be celebrating here in just a few weeks, our 25th wedding anniversary, but only happily for 18 of the. All right, I'm going to let you, y'all are slow, but you're worth waiting. I'm going to wait.
My wheels are turning. Yeah.
We've been married almost 25 years. We got one little boy, not little anymore. He's 16 years old. His name is Solomon. And Solomon's my favorite Bible character because I love wisdom, love to study wisdom. It's the difference between where we are and where we want to be. And that's understanding wisdom and principles. And so we pastor now in Detroit, Michigan, began a church here just 2 years ago on the weekend that COVID hit and shut down the world was our launch weekend. And now we're launching our second campus in Louisville, Kentucky. We'll be launching there in just about 40 days. But I grew up in church. My dad's a minister. My grandfather's a minister. My great-grandfather's a minister. So I've been in church my whole life and worked in ministry, worked for several different ministries, pastored in Florida. And then God kind of opened up some opportunities for us in the business world. And as a motivational speaker, which I just kind of, as one of my mentors, John Maxwell, says, we're just missionaries to the marketplace, salt and light. And for 12 years, did that, was on the Get Motivated tour, as they mentioned, with the guys from Shark Tank, Tony Robbins, those guys. And then God led us back to pastoring and building the thing that he loves to build more than anything, his church, the local church. And so here we are, and we're having a blast and love sharing leadership insights and getting to be a part of amazing things like you're doing there at Faith Bible College and just to get to speak into that and so excited. I love the vision of the college and that debt free. You know, I went to Bible college. I went to Southeastern University. It's an Assembly of God college for my bachelor, master's, doctorate at International Seminary in Plymouth, Florida, just over in the Orlando area. And so I know what it's like to get done and have a lot of bills, and it really affects, you know, opportunity, where you can go for ministry, we all trust God, we understand that, but you know, there's bills you got to pay, and to be able to just step out into ministry debt free without those school loans, I love it. And I'm so excited. I know you got many partners on here, legacy partners that are every month they're saying, hey, we're a part of this. And then those that want to jump in and change the world and those one-time gifts, it all makes a difference. So thank you to everyone who is a part of this. I'm glad to be a part of it as well. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a joy when you give that student their degree and you know that any debt is not going to shut any door for them. They can go absolutely anywhere in the world that God wants them to go. So it really is our privilege
Yeah,
to be a part of that.
when you don't have, we both understand financial pressure, right? And how that affects every area of your life, right? Your relationships, your work. If you're, my employees, if they're stressed out about their bills, it's going to be harder for them to get their job done. And so, sending people into the ministry without debt and the weight of that, as far as school loans and that, is just amazing. So, I'm excited to be a part of helping and just this webinar today. So, thank you.
Thank you. Taking that pressure off of the person, the family, the church, the ministry. It's a joy, and we give God thanks that He helps us to do that. So you grew up in Mississippi, is that correct?
Grew up in Mississippi. My dad was a pastor there.
Okay, and then you spent some time in Florida. Yeah, and you traveled
for college.
And now you're in Detroit, starting a church. Yeah. And then you just took on a church in Louisville. There's got to be a difference from Mississippi to Florida to Detroit to Louisville.
The weather is one, the temperature. But I'm even finding beginning a church in Louisville compared to even in Detroit. You get down, once you cross over into Louisville, they call it the entrance to the South, right? And you start to get in that Bible Belt, it's a whole different world than, well, you understand up where you are. I grew up in Mississippi in the Bible Belt. Everything was about church and everything was, but it's a whole different world when you get outside of that and what you're doing to build. So yeah, cultures are different. Weather, of course, is different, and what we're doing is different in each of those places as well. So it's fun. The journey with God is always fun.
I love the name of your church. I mean, my God-given testosterone just flows when I say Motor City Church. I mean, if you want to change a family, a community, region, you got to reach some men. And I don't know a name that better fits. I'm thinking about changing the name of our church to Tractor Country Church.
Well, we got Harley Davidsons in the lobby. So it's we're trying to live up to the brand,
So smart, so intelligent. So what you're doing there, geared towards that, works. How are you transitioning the way you do it in Detroit to the way you do it in Louisville?
Yeah, at first we went back and forth. Well, can you call it Motor City Church? That's the downside to taking on the ownership of one city, especially the way church is done today, right? With being able to be in any part of the world and have another campus. Growing up, my dad, after pastoring for he's almost 80 and pastoring for 60 years. To him, he doesn't understand. I don't understand how you can pastor a church in Michigan and pastor a church in Kentucky. Yeah. That doesn't make sense to him. But it's a whole new world, church, especially even in the past 2 years, right? With online and video as accelerated, what should have took 15 years, in 2 years, a year and a half, accelerated in that arena. But we're really building the same culture there. At first we were like, well, should we call it something different? Derby City Church. You got the Kentucky Derby. They didn't like Bourbon City Church. They told me no to that one right away, but it is Kentucky. But we took the name. Okay, let's stick with our brand, Motor City Church, and our culture. Disney, when they went to Europe and in Paris, and then they went to I think it's Shanghai. They went over to Asia. They brought their culture. They brought their brand, their culture. I brought the Southern culture and hospitality up to Detroit. I grew up around it. So I brought that to Detroit. And now we're taking that same gusto, that same culture, whatever, down to Louisville, wherever we end up. I believe if it's a culture that you created and it's a godly culture, it's a God first culture, it's going to work. This is not going to work here. Well, I think the Bible works anywhere. And so if we're following the principles of the word, I think it's going to work anywhere. And so that's what we're doing now. We're building teams and bringing what we believe. I just think culture is kind of like the wind. You can't see it, but it's felt. Yeah. and the effect of it makes an incredible difference. And so that's what we're trying to build everywhere we go.
Yeah, I think we could actually spend a whole session on the intricacies of what you're talking about. And I think it'd be so good. And it seems like sometimes people overthink that, though. I mean, I think divorce hurts just as much in Detroit as it does in Louisville.
Right.
Poverty hurts the same, like the pain's the same. It's what are those little intricacies that are different between us? And obviously you're doing it really well. So what a great example. I really want to talk about one of the books that you wrote, and the 12 Traits of the Greats.
Yeah.
And I love every one of those aspects. I read it when you first wrote it and published it. And I want to invite the students, as we cover these different topics, to just send in your questions and ask Dr. Dave some of the things that you're looking for. We have some really hungry leaders that are joining us today, so I'm looking forward to hearing from them as well. One of the first traits, and I know that we can't cover all of them in our time, but responsibility is the first chapter, and appropriately so. Obviously, you take on that extreme ownership mentality, and in your life, talk to me, because I kind of want to glean from some of your experiences. We're both very young men, but how have you seen practically responsibility has really propelled what God has called you to do to where you're at now?
Yeah, if you just look at that word, responsibility, we always say there's no I in team, right? But there's a lot of I's in responsibility. And understanding that I can't blame others. Yeah. I've got to take ownership. There's a lot of I's, and a lot of people go through life blaming everyone else of why they haven't succeeded, why they haven't accomplished, why my church hasn't grown, why my business hasn't. And I can sit and blame others, but until I take responsibility, writing the book, 12 Traits of the Greats, I spent literally thousands of hours studying great achievers. What made them great? Great on the baseball field, great on the battlefield, great in the business field, in the ministry field. What made these people great? And as I did, I found these different traits, and I put them in the order. Well, especially the first chapter, I put chapter 1 for a reason, because as long as I blame other people, I'm not going to get very far in life. I was getting my physical first of the year. I get it at the beginning of every year, and the doctor said, "Dave, you need to lose about 50 pounds." And I said, well, that's not my fault. That's Krispy Kreme's fault. That's, they're the ones that make those donuts so good. But, my decision yesterday to eat the donut got me to the place I am today, 50 pounds overweight or whatever. And so my decisions starting today begin to shape my future tomorrow. So unless I'm willing to take responsibility, right? We've all had things happen in our life that sometimes that were beyond our control. But unless we learn how to master those things, unless we learn how to take responsibility for our responses, our reactions to those things, they can affect us our entire life. And so that's why I put down, when I was thinking of the 12 traits and just growth and understanding, because I think personal growth is one of the most valuable things. And that's our responsibility, right? You're only young once, you can be immature indefinitely. So growth is your responsibility. I was studying Sir Edmund Hillary, right? I don't know if you've heard of Sir Edmund Hillary. A lot of people have. The first man to ever summit Mount Everest, the first man to ever make it to the top of Mount Everest. And when I began to look at his story, I just always heard, he's the first guy to make it. One day he got up and he's like, I'm going to the top. And there he went. As I studied it out, I found out that he didn't make it the first time he tried. He didn't make it the second time he tried. He tried several times before he made it. And he did something that it's a principle. One thing I've learned years ago, there's a big difference between the person of Jesus and the principles of Jesus. The person of Jesus prepares you for heaven. The principles of Jesus prepare you for earth. Yeah. And there's ungodly people who use godly principles all the time to achieve ungodly results. Yet the Bible puts the principles there. The principles of leadership, the principles of life are there for us, and you feel good when you follow godly principles. I said someone the other day, I said, have you ever straightened up the shoes in your closet? Just rearranged your closet, got it all? Yeah. How did you feel? Man, I felt like I could conquer the world. Good. Right. I was like, what else could I do today? I said, why do you think you felt so good when you straightened up the shoes in your closet? You felt good because you created order. Order is the accurate arrangement of things. Well, we know that God is a God. He set the world into order. He's a God of order. So just straighten up your shoes, straightening your desk, cleaning out your car. All of a sudden you feel good because you did a godly thing. You followed a godly principle. So, but Sir Edmund Hillary, he did a principle that we can read about in the Bible. He didn't make it the first time, second time, but he looked at Mount Everest and he made this statement. He said, I will come again and conquer you. Because as a mountain, you cannot grow, but as a human, I can.
That's good.
And we face mountains, we face struggles, we face sometimes what seems to be impossibilities, whether it's building a business or building a church, right? We're like, okay, how in the world? Well, as humans, as leaders, we have the ability to continue to grow, to continue to develop, to continue. And it's our responsibility to do that. And so that's why I think if people can get past that first chapter, they might make something of themselves. They could just get past that taking responsibility. If you don't make personal growth, your responsibility is never going to happen. Now, of course, we're talking to a lot of people today that were smart enough to invest in themselves. And I applaud you guys for taking time out of your day to join. And I would say every time you have an opportunity, when Faith College, Bible College does this, to get on here and be a part with President Warren, be a part of these leadership, of your growth. If you want tomorrow to be different than today, you've got to learn something today that will make tomorrow different. Good. I mean, if you go into tomorrow with the same information you have today, you won't really have a tomorrow. You'll just have a longer today. And so I thank you for taking the time. I know there's a lot of things you guys could be doing, but to take the time to invest in leaders, invest in alumni, invest in those that are investing in the college and pouring back into them. I just think that's amazing. And I just think all those that are joining us are amazing because they're taking responsibility for their growth. So that's a long answer, but I hope it helped.
It's really good. It's really good because you have, and we are endeavoring to make an investment in our leadership because we want to reap from it. You can't reap from a field you never sow into. Right. And maybe you could talk to us about how, you've had this personality of connecting and inspiring people back to, I don't know how long ago. My wife went to Southeastern the same time you were there. And I texted her today. I said, what do you remember about Dr. Dave? And she just said, he was always inspiring, connecting people, very social. But what have you done over the years that you intentionally invested into your own leadership?
Yeah. Well, we've heard it said a million times, your network determines your net worth, right?
That's good.
And we understand, I think it's John Maxwell that started it, or it's been said many times that the people you surround yourself with, take the 5 people that are closest to you. That's what your future is going to look like. But, I've learned throughout my life from mentors that the value of sowing and reaping, right? Now we could talk about it in finances, which a lot of people immediately think. Now, growing up, the kind of church I grew up in, I was a very the church I grew up in. Everything was a sin. We couldn't do anything. Movies, sin, bowling, everything was a sin, right?
Yeah.
And so if we heard about sowing and reaping, it was only when we did something bad. You're going to reap what you sow, son. We didn't learn the benefits of it, right?
Yeah.
I think about the people that are sowing into the Vision of Faith Bible College. They're going to reap incredible harvests of sowing into the future of ministers and people that are going to make a difference around the world. That's going to be an incredible harvest in their life as they sow financially. But I also believe that what I sowing and reaping is a life principle.
Yeah.
I don't have any friends. Maybe you're not friendly.
Yeah.
Sow friendship, you reap friendship. And so I just learned at a early age, really the value of relationships and relational equity. And I just was always, how can I help? I'm a networker. I'm a connector. How, you're going to have a friend of mine on in a few weeks, right? We're connecting, and you're like, hey, this person, give me just a second. Within a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
There was a connection. And that's just, I love to do that. And I think because I've done that, whether it's helping someone that needs I'm going to be here and need a meeting, or I want to meet this person or connect with that person. I'll find myself sometimes in the middle of a conversation, and I'm like, how in the world, why am I the guy in the middle of this? I remember Joel Osteen wanted Brian Houston to come and speak at an event, and Joel called me and said, can you call Brian Houston and see if he'll come and speak at my church at this? And I'm like, you're Joel Osteen, call Brian Houston. Why? How did I get in the middle of this? But I think, my heart has been, how can I help? How can I serve others? How can I add value to others? And I think that's one of the greatest qualities of leadership. I've spent my whole life adding value to others. And because of that, I just have seen the harvest of favor and opportunities and open doors and relationships in my life. But I think one of the most powerful things I learned to do was to recognize those opportunities. And so often we miss that incredible the law of recognition. What's right in front of us, yet we miss it. A friend of mine wanted to put a pond. He bought a nice piece of property, a new home, and he wanted to build a pond on his property. And so he decided where they were going to build the pond. And he said, man, what'd be nice is if there was a little hill next to the pond, I could put like a gazebo up on the hill. I could sit in the gazebo. I could look down at the pond, maybe a fountain. He said, but the land's flat, so there's no hill. But let's just build the pond. So they built the pond. They started digging out the dirt so they could put the pond in. And as they dug out the dirt, they began to set it on the side. Pretty soon he realized, wait, there's a hill right next to the pond. The hill was there the whole time. It was just inside the pond, and he had failed to recognize it. Yeah. And how often is what we need inside of us or right there, yet as leaders, sometimes we fail to recognize it, whether it's a gift or a talent in an employee, a team member, whether it's an opportunity. And I believe whatever you recognize, you become thankful for. Whatever you're thankful for increases in your life. And so I think so often that law of recognition is one of the most powerful things that we miss as leaders, but yet one of the most important things we need as a leader is the ability to recognize opportunity, to recognize an enemy, right? To recognize all those things that are set before us. And I think learning to do that has been incredible in opening up opportunities for me and for any of us.
Yeah. So you really have developed a mindset to be open to these kind of things. And I just got done reading one of your newest books. I would suggest anybody get their hands on that. It was so good, written across the board, not just for Christian leaders, but for business leaders as well. Tell us how important having that kind of mindset has been for you in your journey to where you're at now.
Yeah, well, I believe mindset is everything. If you could change your thinking, you could change your world. We were talking about culture earlier. It all begins with a mindset, right? How we've got stuck in certain cultures is because of a mindset or how we change that. The Bible talks a lot to us about it. I know a lot of times I grew up in a charismatic Pentecostal background, and we thought that scripture said, be transformed by the removal of your mind. I looked a little closer. It says the renewal of your mind. It's a change. We just wanted to shout, fall down. We'd fall down broke, get up broke, and nothing changed, right? And I'm not against that. I'm just saying nothing changed until our thinking changed. That's why the Bible is continually renewing our mind, changing. As a person thinketh, so are they. Well, I never could see myself having a church like that. Well, don't worry, you won't. I never could see myself having a house like that. Well, you probably won't. It was Henry Ford that said, whether you believe you can or whether you believe you can't, you're right. Sure. And so I found so much. Now, growing up in a small town in Mississippi, I say it this way. I left Mississippi long before Mississippi left me.
Wow. Wow.
I left the small town I grew up in, but the small mentality took me a long time. And it's still something that I have to work at. I grew up around a lot of negative people. Now, some of us, we maybe you have a negative mindset. You have to deal with that. People say, you're just you're a motivational speaker. You're always just in such a good mood. Do you ever wake up on the wrong side of the bed? I said, no, whichever side I get up on is the right side. Because it's a choice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you ever wake up grumpy? Sometimes, but sometimes I let her sleep. But I hope she's not watching. But it's a choice. So people say, I was born a pessimist. I mean, my blood type is even B negative. So I got to work at this all the time. So I'm continually, daily working on my thinking, working on my mindset. As a person thinketh, so are they. And when those negative thoughts come, Joyce Meyer wrote a book, Battlefield of the Mind. Many people know that book. And it goes all to how the enemy attacks our thinking. He keeps us small by our thinking. We keep ourselves small by not taking responsibility, which we talked about, for our thinking and changing our mindsets. And talking about culture, I was thinking about that this morning, is changing mindsets is one of the very first things to changing a culture.
True. It's good.
You come in and the church I'm taking over down in Louisville, we added a fog machine, right? A hazer, because you can't really worship without one of those. I had to go buy one at Radio Shack during the lockdown because I just in my house, I had to get it full of smoke before I could really worship. But I'm kidding. But, people, well, I don't know why this is like a disco in here. It's just like a club, but, and so it's okay. Well, first of all, why do we do that? Let's talk about that just for a minute. Because do we need that for God? No, we don't need that for God to show up. But most people, they say, get saved between the ages of 18 and 35.
Good.
I said, how many in this room got saved between 18 and 35? Oh, wow. Look at all you. A lot of you got saved. How many would love to see this room full of young families? Oh, yeah. Young people. If we really, truly have a cathedral mindset, which is a leadership book I'm working on right now, the Cathedral Mindset, which is what you're doing there at Faith Bible. I mean, for years, I went to the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. They said it took over 100 years to build that cathedral. Yeah. The Cologne Cathedral in Germany, over 600 years. I was in Barcelona and I got to go to La Sagrada Familia. It's a cathedral that they're building right now. Antonio Gaudi designed it. They began construction in the late 1800s with a 200-year plan of completion. The designer knew he would never see the completion of the vision.
That's good.
But what he was building, what you're building through the college, what I'm building through my church, what we're building will outlast us, right? We're building it, and it'll be building for generations and generations to come. Even with modern technology, they still say that it's still 2026 before the cathedral will be finished. It started in the late 1800s. I love what Gaudi said. He said, "My boss is not in a hurry." but when we get that kind of mindset that what we're building is for generations to come. Yeah. And I don't know how I just flipped over to the cathedral mindset. I don't remember what I was saying.
I'm glad you did. But let me ask you then, while you're on that, as a communicator, okay, and we have some great communicators here in the college, knowing the mindset of the people that you're ministering to is everything. Like the Apostle Paul knew the mindset of the people that he was writing to. They didn't struggle. Jesus knew the hearts and the minds of the people he communicated with. Like, you got to care enough, first of all, to know what the people are thinking. I mean, how have you developed over the years the ability to communicate to anybody?
Yeah, well, there goes. That's what I was talking about right there was with the fog machine, the hazer, right? Yeah. Now, I know that the people sitting in that room, they're Christians. They love God. They've been in church a long time. They know they want to see people say yes to Jesus.
Sure.
They want people to go to heaven. With them, we want to take as many people as we can. So I flip the focus not on the fall. What we're trying to reach these young couples. What if a young couple comes in and they give their heart to Jesus? They got to 4-year-old who grows up now in the church, because what we're building is for generations to come.
Yeah.
That young person becomes the next Jensen Franklin or the next Billy Graham or the next, whoever it may be. But what if that couple came in and, oh, look at this. This is cool. The smoke machine. Me, I said, I'm too old for that. My goodness, I'm trying to find my way out to the pulpit, trying to get my way through. I can't see nothing. Those lights shining in my eyes. And I said, that gives me a headache. I don't like it at all. I said, but man, if one young couple gives their heart to Jesus, one 19-year-old says, yes, could I handle a little light in my eye and a little smoke in my face for that?
Sure.
I would do it. I'd do anything next to sinning to get someone to go to heaven with me. So now all of a sudden they begin to, we could put up with that for someone to go to heaven. What wouldn't I do? I mean, Jesus was willing to die. I mean, at least I don't have to die. I just got to put up with some fog, right? Come on, we can do that, can't we?
Sure.
Yeah. And all of a sudden now you begin to changing culture. You begin to speak to people's emotions.
Yeah.
And that begins to help shift the way they think, shift mindsets. And so I think one thing that's helped me in what I feel called to do it, and that's to transition culture and to save churches. It's easy to plant. Well, it's not easy to plant a church, but when you plant a church, you come in with your culture. It starts. I'd rather just have my culture from the beginning than have to shift a culture. Yeah. But it takes a different kind of leadership and a different kind of understanding. And you get a young guy comes in, you see it all the time, takes over from their dad, and their dad's like, he's stuck in the old way, and they just change everything, run off all the old people and the ones that are paying the bills, right? And they're gone, and they feel like they're not useful anymore. Like, God still has a plan for you. My goodness, Colonel Sanders was in his mid-60s when he started KFC, which Forbes magazine calls one of the 5 biggest franchises in the world.
Wow.
Morgan Freeman was in his mid-50s when he got his first acting job. So God's not through with you. We may need to adjust you a little bit, move you around in your position, but you still got a plan. And so looking at those generations, and I think seeing my dad still having a heart. I mean, he's going to Africa to teach for 3 weeks in a Bible college over there. My grandfather, at 94 years old, he preached about a month before he passed away. His last time he preached. At 92, we went to Peru on a missions trip. I mean, I'm not done yet, but I'm also looking at my son who's coming up now at 15. And I'm like, how is he understanding this message? Is it making sense to him and his future? And do you like that worship song? I want to know, does he like what we're doing? His opinion matters. And so I think that's how you learn communication is vital to leadership, right? I mean, communication is vital to shifting culture, to reaching different generations, and communication is a two-way street. You gotta communicate if you're going to get anything done, and not just when things are going bad, or when things are going good. You need to communicate, and when things are going bad, communication will get people on board with you and help move the vision forward.
Yeah, so good, so good. Well, I've got a couple questions coming in from some students. Let's hit those. One of them writes, "How do you keep momentum when trying to build new habits and make positive changes?"
Yeah, the big mo. That's that thing that we're all trying to figure out. If you got it with you, man, it makes things a whole lot easier. But if you don't have it, oh my goodness. So how do you get it going? How do you keep it going? Momentum and motivation, I think, are all things that kind of start inside of us. As a leader, I can begin to generate that. One of the ways I always generate momentum is by communicating the wins. And, David, before he killed Goliath, he killed a lion, he killed a bear. Little victories always lead to big successes. And so I think beginning to share the little victories begins to build momentum as we're shifting culture that we did here in Detroit. Same thing we're doing in Louisville. I'm like, let's save a church, right? We got all these churches now that are turning into condominiums and restaurants and that were built for the kingdom. Let's save a church.
Right.
And so in that, communicating the wins, man, we had 3 salvations Sunday. They hadn't seen a salvation in 12 months. We've got 4 families came. One of them came back. Man, that's awesome. Little victories, but little victories lead to big successes. And so all of a sudden that gets people excited. Then the next one gets people excited. And that begins to build a momentum, a culture of momentum. And I think, momentum is like a wave. We talk about it like a wave, riding a wave. It's not always going to be there. The wave's going to crash out at some point, but learning the rhythm of how to catch another wave, right? Learning the rhythm. Okay, here's a good time in building church. We know normally September is kind of a wave. People are getting back from summer vacation. Their kids are back in school. It's a good time to try to catch a wave and get a jump. Beginning of the year, January, people are making decisions. I'm gonna start going to church. I'm gonna do some things different this year. So it's a great time to start paddling up and catch the wave and ride some momentum. And so I think there's different times throughout the year that we can jump on that momentum that naturally comes, but then there's also the times that we have to create it. And that's with sharing those little victories. So good.
Before David would fight Goliath, he wanted to know, what am I going to get for it? There's
Right.
nothing wrong with saying and then in my imagination, they said, well, you get to marry Saul's daughter. My imagination was, anybody have a picture of her?
Yeah.
I want to fight for an ugly woman.
Exactly. He's like, I'm going to get the money and the honey, right? Getting his bills paid off, his taxes, 0, and the king's daughter. But you're right. He said that, and which is one of the 12 traits of the greats, is the power of visualization or your imagination. And we don't talk about that a lot at church because, that could be new age, that visualization stuff. It's definitely a Disney thing, right? I love that when they interviewed Walt's wife, when they opened Disney World in 1971, he had died a couple of years earlier. And they said, isn't it sad that Walt never got to see Disney World? She said, oh, he saw it. He saw it before any of us. That's why it's here today, right? The power to visualize or imagine is one of the most powerful tools to building anything great. I've got a vision wall. I got pictures of things I want in my future. All throughout the Bible, you see the principle. You just mentioned it, David. Wait a minute. Tell me what you get if you kill the giant. And he began to visualize his future. Abraham, you're going to have children. Your children will have children. I just don't see that possible. God says, come out of your tent. Come out here. Look up in the sky. See the stars? As numerous as the stars in the sky will be the descendants. Get a picture. As numerous as you can see, that's the descendants that will come after you. He had them begin to visualize. And so it's a powerful, powerful tool that we throw out so often. Yet the world teaches so much on the power of visualization, and they're accomplishing amazing things. And yet we're missing in the church as well. That could be, it's in the Bible. It's all throughout the Bible. It's a powerful principle.
Yeah, I mean, the benefit of the baptism of the Holy Spirit are dreams and visions.
Right.
And
right.
I mean, it's in the package. And
Yeah.
so I love that. We got to be open to it. Here's another question from one of our great students. It says, being in leadership, how do you determine who you want to be on your team or around you?
Well, I love what Warren Buffett said. He said, he goes, the great thing about success and leadership is not having to work with anyone who makes your stomach turn. One thing I just got to have, I love happy people around me. So that's one of the first things I look at is this person happy?
Yeah.
I'm deciding my team. I'll train some skill, but man, happiness is something, you got to learn how to think yourself happy. That's what Paul said. Right. And so, I look for people that I enjoy. Of course, you want good, qualified people. I'm going to look and see their qualifications, but I also look for people that can see the vision more than just their position.
Yeah.
We teach here a volleyball culture of leadership. If you notice on a volleyball team, there's no superstars on a volleyball team. Everyone has to change positions and everyone has to serve.
It's good.
Right. And so, you may be, I was talking to the guy that's over our pastoral care and amazing guy. I mean, in 2 years, he's done the youth, he's done the kids, he's been the platform host, he's run the dream team. And I'm one of those, I'll move people around on the bus. You got to be flexible. Hey, the vision, here's the vision where we're going. Now, whatever gifts and skills, and we do the color test, you're a yellow, you're a blue, we do all those things. But people got to be, I'm looking for people that are willing to, hey, if I need to sit over here for a while, then let's do it. Let's do it. I talked to my dream team, like, give me 6 months. Be the head usher here for 6 months. And if you don't like it, we got other positions. We'll move you around. But do you see the vision of what we're trying to do? This is where I need you right now. And so when I'm looking for leadership, I guess I'm looking for people that are adaptable, willing to change. Again, another trait of great achievers is adaptability. Yeah. and being able to change, because things are always changing, especially today. My goodness, if you're not willing to change, you'll become a fossil pretty quick. Yeah. I mean, things are changing faster than we can unwrap the iPhone. The new one's coming out and the upgrade and the update and all that. So those are some of the key things that I look for in those that I want on my team.
It's really good. I love in one of the chapters on passion, you talk about how great leaders have that. Every leader has a passion. Well, but I want to ask, maybe in your progression in your ministry and your vocation, I doubt when you first began in those years, you spent all of your time on your greatest passion.
Right.
And I'm even at this point in my life wishing I could spend more time, but I guess as time goes by, you want to be moving towards spending more time in your dominant gift than in your weaker gift. But what have you experienced that, and how do you go through the character development of working in your lesser gifts without losing your passion for your dominant gift?
Yeah, I just taught this Tuesday night. I have a coaching program called the Success Circle, and I taught this in the Success Circle on Tuesday to all of our coaches and that. But discovering your core genius. When I started Dave Martin International, it was me, and I hadn't been anywhere international. Well, I did go to Canada once, but just across the bridge and back. But I did everything, right? I mean, I answered the phone. Dave Martin International, how may I help you? Can I speak with Dave? One moment, please. Hello, this is Dave. Your staff is amazing. I trained them myself. I had to do everything, right? I was packing my own boxes, shipping my own materials. I had to do it all. And as an entrepreneur starting a church, a lot of times you got to do it all. But as long as you continually do it all, what happens is we get stuck with this mindset of it's going to be harder to train someone else. I might as well just do it myself. Yeah. Or I don't want to spend the money. If I hire an assistant, oh gosh, that's going to cost more. One of the guys I mentor, he's got a business that's just really growing. And I said, if you figured it up, what would you say? He said, I'd probably make $100 an hour. I said, okay, $100 an hour. Now he was like, Saturday, I've got to mow my yard. He was talking about mowing his yard. I said, you still mow your yard? He said, yeah. I said, now, first of all, do you enjoy it? Now, if it's something you enjoy, some people love yard work. It's relaxing. If you enjoy it, if it's passion of yours, do it. But if it's not, why are you doing it? Well, $20 if I got to pay someone else to do it. I said, really, $20, but you make how much an hour? 100. So if you gave a guy $20, kid down the road to mow your yard, and you spent that hour instead of mowing your yard on your business, you still made $80 an hour. Yeah. Right. But our mindset, again, going back to our mindset, thinks, I got to say the 20, I can just do it. I can do it. We're not realizing if I invested that time in my core genius, if I invested my time. So I took everyone through this strategy, and it's just a quick one you all could do. Just think of everything that you do, everything that you have to do to run your business, all the things that you still do. Maybe you still look at the mail every day when it comes. Someone else can open the mail, right? Maybe you still, I want to look at it, make a list of all those things, but think of the 3 that you're the most passionate about, that you love to do the most, or that bring you the most reward? Now, think of those three. Now, let's take all the rest of them and start to go, who could do this? Who on my team? Who could I hire maybe to, my wife? I didn't marry my wife because she was a good cook. Now, she can cook, but I didn't marry her. So I don't expect her to make dinner every day when there's like 500 restaurants in my town that are already prepared. All we got to do is just walk in and eat. There's other stuff that she can do, right? And that's not her. That's not her dominant gift. Or cleaning the house. If you enjoy it, but at some point you got to look at, what are my dominant gifts? What is it in my organization, in my business, in my life? What is it that only I can do? That's where I need to put my focus. What is it only I can do? And some people don't do it because, well, I don't want to seem like I'm arrogant, like I can't book my own flight, and we get that. And that's just, that's just pride. It's all that is, just a little pride. You got to get rid of that. Pride comes in a lot of different ways. And so, I could get on the app and book my own flight. Of course I could. But that time, what happens is I put it off because I know I can do it. And I put it off. Then the price goes up and I put it off. I keep procrastinating on it because it's not my core genius. It's not really going to produce me anything. Yeah. And so I could have delegated it to someone way earlier. It'd be done. I wouldn't have to keep thinking about it every day. I got to do that. And so a lot of those are things that hinder us. That's we could do a couple hour webinar just on that. Yeah. But it's a delegation, such a powerful tool to getting in your core genius, which is where successful people, truly successful people, that's where they get. That's why I think how hard it must have been for my dad to build a church. He never had a big church, but my goodness, back in the day, you had 3 sermons a week: Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night. Just coming up with 3 sermons a week. I have a hard time coming up with a decent one once a week, let alone having to come up with 3 mediocre ones. Plus, when am I going to have time to teach leadership? When am I going to have time to organize staff? When am I going to have time to come up with new ideas? I don't have time with any of that. So that's why I think a lot of times small churches stay small. And I'd love to write a whole book on why small churches stay small, because there's so many little things like that hinder us. And it doesn't even have to be paid staff. People have a heart to volunteer and have gifts and talents they'd love to use for the kingdom. And you can build a great church on volunteers.
That's right.
So,
yeah, it comes back to your ability to recognize the people that God has put around you and release them. And, I tell the students, the ministry's job is to give other people a job. Yeah. And if we can activate the gifted people around us, I think that you can see the body of Christ just grow, because God works that way. So I appreciate your time so much. A couple of things I just want to ask you about today. First of all, tell us a little bit about Pastor, and I hope I say his name right. Is it Brozazog?
Brozazog.
He's going to be with us on April the 14th. That's the gentleman I had asked you about, that a friend of mine knows, and you are right on it. Tell us a little bit about that to encourage the viewers to join us again.
Oh, let me tell you, Jonathan Brozazog, he pastors a great church called Creative Church. And he lives up to the name for sure. Their church does some of the most innovative and creative things I've ever seen. But Jonathan is one of the most incredible leaders. His insight is phenomenal. His way of looking at things. Talk about mindset. Just examples. All of a sudden you'll be like, oh my goodness, why did I never see that before? So his understanding of leadership and the ability he's built an incredible church of thousands of people with such a small staff. I think a couple of years ago with I think 5 full-time staff members, they had over 4,000 on Easter with only 5 full-time. He knows how to activate people to get them behind the vision. He's very entrepreneurial. I call him a pastorpreneur. He's come up with some of the most innovative ideas and strategies and businesses. I mean, you think every church needs to meet new people moving in the community. How do you meet new people? Well, a great way to meet them would be they're going to have moving vans, right? You renting U-Hauls or returning U-Hauls. He said, I got a building, I got a church, I got a big parking lot. He said, what if I had a U-Haul franchise? I can meet everyone renting U-Hauls. So he opened a U-Haul franchise. He said, I always need trucks for the church to move stuff. And we've got a couple of campuses that are set up, tear down. So he said, now I've got trucks. I'm meeting all the new people that come in town. We got another stream of revenue coming to the church. And I got a parking lot that sits here all weekend. Anyway, how brilliant is that? We want to meet teenagers. He started a driving school, and they've got several little cars wrapped, creative driving school, and they come to the church for their class. I mean, and now he's getting all these teenagers. I saw last night they had several hundred teenagers filling the building, worshiping God. I mean, it's just amazing. He's got 8 kids, incredible family. He said he doesn't like kids that much, but he really likes his wife. So he's got 8 kids, but I'm telling you now, mark your calendar for that date, rearrange your plans, whatever you got to do, and invite somebody. That'd be a great time to invite somebody to join the Leadership Insight webinar there and be a part of it. I promise you, you won't be disappointed by what you'll learn from Jonathan Brosesov.
It's so good. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to that. And again, thank you for making that connection for me. Share with people that are watching finally how they can connect with you and some of the things that you're offering, even online.
Yeah. Well, of course, they can go to our website, davemartin.org, which is going to have all kind of information about us and a lot of the different programs we have. I wrote a book last year called Make That, Break That, all about the power of habits. And it's a nice little hardback book, kind of like that one you had, Mindset Matters. It's called Make That, Break That. And I'll ship it to you for free. I'm trying to help everyone get their habits right. And you can go to freedavemartinbook.com. Real simple, freedavemartinbook.com. And you can get a copy. I think there's a little shipping charge, but you can get a copy of that book. But we've got a lot of stuff out there. Of course, all of our social media at Dr. Dave Martin. We try to give you some wisdom and try to keep you laughing. I try to drop some stuff in there every now and then to just keep the joy flowing. Laughter, the Bible says, is a medicine. So I'm just trying to help people take their medicine.
And you're doing really well at it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Really, your time is very valuable, but your insight today has been a great deposit in some really great future leaders. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It's an honor to be with you guys. And thank you, all you who support the vision of Faith Bible College International and are sowing into that with your time, talents, and especially with your treasures. You're just making such a difference in the lives of future leaders and ministers. So God bless you guys. Thanks so much.
Great. Thanks, Dr. Dave. Appreciate it. Look, just before we go, I hope that you enjoyed that today. I know I did. I know the students did. The value of what you received today, I think can't be measured for the moment. It's just going to be something, if you'll apply it to your life, will make you the leader that God had already pre-planned for you to be. So go ahead and connect with all that Dr. Martin has made available to you. And I've thoroughly enjoyed all of the material that I've received from him. And today was phenomenal. Thank you for joining us today. If you're new to Faith Bible College International, check out all that we have online and let us be a help to you. If you know somebody that needs to be trained, or if you want to be a part of what's going on here, everything's right there at the website. And God bless you, increase your leadership, and we'll see you next time for Leadership Insight.